Thanks, Jiang. Well, indeed, China and Namibia actually enjoy long-standing diplomatic ties that were established shortly after Namibia's independence in 1990. Now, these relations have been characterized by high-level exchanges and visits, including a visit to Namibia by former Chinese President Jiang Zemin and several visits to Beijing by various Namibian leaders. The two countries have also cooperated on several key projects, like the construction of a part of Namibia's new state house and two regional assembly buildings in Rundu and Outapi. The two governments have in the past signed several agreements on trade, culture, health, education, science and technology. And indeed, dozens of Namibian students have also benefited from scholarships coming from the Chinese government, thus promoting skills transfer. Trade between the two countries has also been on a steady rise. In 2017, the total volume of trade jumped to $532 million, up from $435 million in 2016. Let's get you some perspective and analysis on Sino-Namibian relations. We're joined by Dr. David Monyai. He's an expert on China-Africa relations and the co-director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. Dr. David Monyai, thank you so much for joining us. Now, as we know, China and Namibia have long enjoyed strong ties and positive relations. But in your view, in light of that, what is the significance of this visit by the Namibian president to China?
I think this particular visit comes at a very critical time, given the fact that China just had its CCP 19 Congress, as well as the leadership in Namibia is relatively new, and it is already put in place a new plan, new vision to revive the economy, to deal with the question of unemployment in particular, and strengthen the relationship with China within the Africa-China context, with China-Africa Forum forthcoming this year. And there are quite a number of areas. Politically, SWAPO and CCP are quite close, party to party. At a government-to-government level, through this bilateral relation, you'd see a strengthening of the relationship, particularly in areas in which Namibia is not doing well. Infrastructure, Namibia requires much more infrastructure. Since 1990, with the liberation from the colonial and apartheid, Namibia has battled to deal with a number of issues, like most African countries. It is water shortage. Namibia, it's a semi-desert country, and it requires adequate infrastructure in agriculture, ensure that Namibians' lives are improved and deal with poverty.
Indeed. And as you mentioned, this is a semi-desert country in the southwest region of southern Africa that has a stable economy, but one that doesn't quite compare in terms of its strength and its power to the likes of South Africa and Nigeria. What key agreements then and outcomes do you really expect from the state visit and the meetings between the two leaders?
I think this is the highest level visit ahead of state level, and one would expect that all the paperwork was done. It's a question of signing the deals, particularly in science and technology, in the education, with the high volumes of Namibians going to China for education. And one would expect deals coming. We don't know the amount. Namibia has to deal with issues of debt and how it manages debt. So it's a question of balancing. On one hand, it requires infrastructure to grow its economy. On the other hand, it has to deal with other sensitivities in terms of how does it go about getting all this infrastructure and ensure that it keeps its debt level balanced.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. David Monyai, joining us there from Johannesburg.